What's up, guys? This is Anime Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Sage of Six Path, Part 6. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 10. A clash of two worlds. Each step he took brought him closer to Yamamoto, the head captain of Soul Society's Shinigami forces. As the air tightened around the older Shinigami with Tenkaichi in hand, Naruto knew he had made the right decision by being at full strength. When Naruto was within striking distance, he slashed Tenkaichi in an overhead motion at Yamamoto, only for the Shinigami to vanish in a burst of speed. "So fast for an old man," Naruto exclaimed, before disappearing in a similar burst of speed. Meanwhile, Soifon, Ukitake, Kyoraku, and the other Shinigami could only watch in disbelief as the blurs clashed with concussive forces after each contact. Despite being the second fastest Flash Step user, only behind her former mentor, who is now titled Flash Step Master, the two captains and best friends can barely keep up with them along Soifon. Tenkaichi pushed against the wooden cane that surprisingly held the black sword back and didn't break from contact after Naruto and Yamamoto reappeared with their respective high-speed techniques. Sunshine 10 yards away from Yamamoto after the ninja broke the brief sword lock. The two powerful beings stare at each other as the wind begins to blow against them, causing Yamamoto's Shingami robes to flutter. The ninja was about to make his next move when he heard two bodies, hit the ground. When he looked to his left, he noticed Kyokaru and Ukitake tending to the female Shinigami on the ground, who were breathing shallowly and sweating profusely. It appears they aren't strong enough to withstand beings with strong spiritual energy and pressure, such as the old man and myself. I want to avoid casualties as much as possible. His gaze returned to the still and calm Yamamoto, who, for some reason, didn't attack the ninja when he was distracted just moments ago. I need to get this battle out of here, not only for the sake of Ichigo and the others, but also so I don't get mocked by Yoruichi. HMPH, grumbled Yamamoto as the ninja withdrew a small ball with his free arm. He was about to attack Shunpo when the Ryoka threw it to the ground, causing smoke to engulf the latter and blind him. I see. In that case, he Shunpo'd from his position as he sensed the Ryoka's retreating spiritual pressure. Just as that happened, a massive explosion erupted from the other side of Sokyoku Hill, shocking the remaining Shinigami. Kyokaru lowered his gaze to his lieutenant, who was still gasping for breath. "Come on, let's get you all out of here," he said as he helped Naneo to her feet but stopped when he felt a cold glare from behind him and stood up calmly before facing Soifon, who was about to kill someone. "Get out of the way, Captain Soifon," Kyokaru said, his face relaxed. "You and Captain Ukitake have disgraced the Gote 13 with your actions. The head captain should punish you because you were his former students, but because he is busy, I will carry out this action," Soifon said coldly, sending shivers down the spine of the low-ranking Shinigami. Ukitake thought seriously before his signature smile appeared. "Perhaps once you're done fighting with that person." Everyone looked at him strangely until a blur came by and picked up Soifon from the hill. "Now, shall we get some tea?" His best friend and their lieutenants simply shrugged and shunpo'd to the barracks of the 13th Division. Ichigo vs. Byakuya. The mushroom cloud quickly dissipated, revealing Byakuya standing with Senbon Sakura in hand, a deep trench on his left side and a bleeding hand. "So this is your Zanpakuto's true power?" Byakuya asked, unimpressed, after observing the trench next to him. Ichigo was on the other side of Byakuya, on top of an upturned boulder left over from their earlier fight. "That's right. When I swing my sword, all of my spiritual pressure is absorbed into my Zanpakuto and released again in a super high-density beam, making it an amplified swing. That is Zangetsu's power," Ichigo exclaimed, Zangetsu perched on his right shoulder, staring at Byakuya. "When I trained with Urahara, he told me, 'I can only teach you the stances,' and now I know what he meant. The only person who can teach me how to properly use Zangetsu is Zangetsu himself." He reminisced about the last few minutes of his Bankai training and Zangetsu telling him the name of his would-be and special signature attack of his Zanpakuto. "It's called. Now, Byakuya Kukichi, let go of your Bankai." The Shinigami laughed at the human's idea, believing that there was nothing he could do to defeat him. "Very well then," he said after a moment, "but you will soon regret coming here in Soul Society." He drew his sword and pointed its blade to the ground. "Bankai." Byakuya dropped his sword, which entered the ground like water, and a limitless number of swords appeared behind him. "Scatter." Senbon Sakura Kagyoshi. The sword transformed into an infinite number of sakura flowers. Ichigo was stunned until he jumped high into the air and grabbed his sword to avoid an attack from the lethal Bankai. Ichigo launched a wordless Getsuga Tensho at his opponent, who blocked it with the Sakura blades forming a wall in front of him, swinging Zangetsu. TCH. The substitute Shinigami didn't notice another attack wave until it engulfed him in its shadow. Whoa! He stepped to the left to avoid it, then noticed another approaching wave and narrowly avoided it again. That's when Ichigo realized the attacks were getting faster and his reaction time was getting slower. Finally, another massive wave of Senbon Sakura completely encircled the human, denying him the ability to use Flash Step. I'm not going to make it. The wave slammed into the ground below, kicking up a small dust cloud and debris in the process. Byakuya advanced as the dust cleared, revealing a crater with the substitute Shinigami struggling to get up. I'm impressed. Not many people can withstand being hit by my Bankai. Damn it. I should have known, but I had to see if my Shikai could match the power of a Bankai. Ichigo sighed as he shakily stood up, breathing heavily, his head down, and bleeding from his new wounds. Byakuya appears to be disturbed by what Ichigo said. You speak as if you've already attained Bankai level. That's right. Ichigo exclaimed as he took a stance with Zangetsu outstretched behind him and his left arm stretched forward. HHHAAA. An enormous blue energy skyrockets from Ichigo's body, surprising Byakuya at the same time. A Bankai? That's impossible. It's the final stage of the Zanpakuto, and only the highest level Shinigami can obtain it, Byakuya thought as he stared at Ichigo. Out of the 4 great noble families who are blessed with far greater spiritual pressure than others, only one child in several generations had the potential to reach that level, and those who have obtained it, their names are all etched in the history of the Soul Society. TCH. Ichigo pulls the white cloth tighter around his right arm before placing his left hand on Zangetsu's forearm. Then he said a simple but powerful phrase. Bankai, Ichigo said fiercely, his eyes turning blue for a moment. Zangetsu began to emit white electricity from its blade, which upturned the ground beneath it before releasing a powerful spiritual energy. The power surge causes smoke to erupt, obscuring Ichigo's existence, when a sudden and powerful force pushed away the cloud in a ripple pattern, finally revealing the human and his newly achieved yet unusual Bankai. The huge dust cloud began to dissipate, allowing Byakuya to let his Bankai see his hidden opponent. Ichigo stood there in a new long-sleeved, ankle-length black coat with red lining that he had replaced his Shinigami robe, which was closed at the chest and left to flare out into ragged ends. The oversized Kyber blade has been replaced in his right hand by a dato with a black hilt, a black blade, and a black cross guard with 4 prongs bent out to form the shape of the manji, and a short length of chain with a broken link at the end dangles from the base of the hilt. He glanced over her shoulder at Byakuya. Tensa Zangetsu, Ichigo said, his coat fluttering in the breeze as he prepared for the next stage of their battle with their Bankai. Society for the Forest of Souls, jumping from tree branch to tree branch until he came to a halt on a branch of the smallest tree he could find, Naruto began to plan which elements would be the best choices against an opponent like Yamamoto. Wind-style ninjutsu is definitely out of the question. From what Yoruichi told me, the old man's Zanpakuto is a fire type and the most powerful one in Soul Society's history in terms of attack power. Water-style ninjutsu should help even if it's a little. As for Naruto sensed a tremendous power spike and couldn't help but smirk in excitement. Looks like Ichigo activated his Bankai thingy. Byakurai, Hado number 4. A powerful bolt of white lightning struck the sky, aimed at Naruto, who shunshined out of the way. He reappeared at the top of a tree, where he discovered Yamamoto standing in the air as if it were the ground itself, which was beneficial to the Shinigami and spiritual beings. His Shinigami attire was fluttering in the wind, and he held his cane in his left hand. I see you found me. What's the matter? You lost your tongue or has old age made you forget to talk? Naruto smirked. Perhaps you should retire and let someone younger fight for you. Your arrogance will be your downfall once this is over, Yamamoto simply stated as the ninja stretched with his sword levitating next to him. Are you really that confident in your abilities to be acting this way in front of me? He questioned, observing the boy's black dato, particularly the Uzumaki swirl symbol. Pretty much, Naruto replied before grabbing Tenkaichi's right hand. Anything else before we get started? Yes. What are you doing, young one? Naruto asked the Shinigami, tilting his head. What should I do? Why are you assisting Ichigo Kurosaki and his friends in their efforts to save Rukia Kukichi? How did you get here? It's clear to me that you did not accompany the Ryoka when they first invaded Soul Society. That's for me to know and for you to find out, Naruto said, pulling an eyelid down with his left index finger and sticking out his tongue. Yamamoto shook his head before shunpoing out of the boy's sight. The blonde let out a surprised yelp as he barely redirected a thrust attack from Yamamoto, who was using his cane as a spear with Tenkaichi. The attack's incredible power was felt by Naruto as it slid and grinded against his sword. To put some distance between himself and the Shinigami, he leapt backwards and landed on another tree. This is not going to be simple. Yoruichi was right about you, Gramps. You're stronger than you appear, Naruto said as Tenkaichi's Uzumaki symbol jangled with the chain after he tightened his grip on the black hilt. He sensed a sudden and terrifying silence, as well as the intent to massacre coming from his opponent in front of him. So you've met Yoruichi Shiohan? Yep. She trained me on how to fight Shinigami and a few helpful tips regarding spiritual energy, spiritual pressure, and zanpakudos, among other things, Naruto said, jumping into the air and standing at the same altitude as Yamamoto. It took a lot of tries, but I eventually got it. I see. So a Soul Society criminal gave you invaluable and confidential information to a Ryoka. Now your death is certain from this point on, Yamamoto gestured, and the cane began to peel off, revealing a standard katana with a dark purple hilt and circular handguard. I must admit that, while I thought only Ichigo Kurosaki possessed vast amounts of spiritual energy for a human, you've demonstrated that you have an equal or greater amount than him, and your spiritual pressure compares to a member of one of the 4 great noble families, possibly at the level of my 2 students. Naruto was taken aback for 2 reasons. His spiritual pressure was equal to that of a great noble house member, and Yamamoto revealed his Zanpakudo. That is, for one and only one reason. This is most likely due to your lineage to the Uzumaki clan and the old man, Kurama reasoned, his Jinchuriki mentally agreeing. And whatever happens, don't let him release his Shikai. I know that, Kurama, an irritated Naruto exclaimed, twitching his eye. You were wise to come at me with all your might. Now I shall repay the favor, Yamamoto said as he drew his sword and began chanting, reduce all creation to ashes, Ryujin Ya. I don't think so, Naruto said after sunshining and slashing horizontally from behind, which Yamamoto blocked. Tenkaichi and Ryujin Jaka's blade spark with electricity. You think I'm going to let you activate your Shikai so easily? Naruto said as he pushed against Yamamoto, who was also pushing back with equal force. Man, this old man is really strong. I'm glad I kept training and with Yoruichi's assistance. Yamamoto shook his elderly head at the young man. You think stopping me from releasing my Shikai will help you win the fight? He actually smirked, which surprised and confused Naruto. Think again, brat, Yamamoto said as he kicked Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying through the air. The Shinigami appeared above the shinobi and slashed at him with Ryujin Jaka, but the latter vanished from his line of sight using body flicker technique. Air bullet. Wind style. Yamamoto spun around and blocked a bullet-shaped stream of air with his sword. As the air bullet pushed against his blade and he felt his feet slide through the air, his face took on a small strain. The attack was then redirected downward to the ground below, wreaking havoc on the vast and dense forest. He then deflected another sword strike from above, establishing a sword lock between the air warriors. So your Zanpakudo grants you the ability to manipulate wind, which is a rare ability. TCH. Naruto released the sword lock and jumped backwards to avoid Yamamoto's slash. When he landed in the air again, he almost lost his footing and realized he needed to get used to it. You're mistaken. Yamamoto grumbled angrily as he tightened his grip on Ryujin Jaka's hilt. My sword is not a Zanpakudo. That technique you deflected earlier was the result of me using my chakra. It's called ninjutsu. Frankly, I'm surprised your sword didn't get sliced through or broken by it despite the fact that it was for a wind-based attack. I'm gonna have to up my game from now on, Naruto said before sunshining from his spot to rethink his offensive tactics. Chakra. Where did I hear that term before? I'll be sure to ask him that when I have his broken and bloodied body on the ground begging for mercy, Yamamoto thought before executing flash step and disappearing. Ichigo vs Byakuya, Senkei Senbon Sakura Kagyoshi, Byakuya exclaimed, despite being wounded twice by his opponent. After blocking an attack from Ichigo and his Bankai, his right hand was bleeding. The substitute Shinigami gained unimaginable speed, allowing him to easily dodge and slice through the Senbon Sakura's blades. It turns out that he compressed all of the fighting power of his Bankai into the Dato's blade, giving him hyperspeed. He and Ichigo are surrounded by countless swords in a 4-row column with a dark background and no sign of daylight. The captain notices the human inspecting the circling swords in case they intend to attack him via nonverbal command. Don't worry about these swords. They won't attack you because Senbon Sakura's final form ignores all defensive abilities and focuses all of its fighting power on its offensive powers. You're only the second person I've shown this form to. I'm really flattered, Ichigo retorted sarcastically before clutching Tensa's Zangetsu in both hands. Are you just going to stare at me, or are we going to fight? Byakuya stretched his right arm, and one of the glowing swords flew to his hand, revealing itself to be the Shikai version of his Zanpakuto before releasing more spiritual energy in a white aura. I'll take that as a yes, Ichigo said as he released his own spiritual energy, resulting in a light blue aura surrounding him. With their weapons in hand, the two combatants charged towards each other. When they were within striking distance, they both slashed at each other, unleashing a shockwave and a bright light inside the Senkin before disappearing via flash step. After disappearing and reappearing in different locations, the echoes of their swords clashing reached no one but the wielders. Ichigo reappeared on the ground, but was taken aback when Byakuya appeared in front of him, his blade already aimed at his head. He tilted his head to the left, causing a bleeding cut on his right cheek, and blocked Byakuya's second swing. What the hell happened? You've gotten faster. After summoning another sword from the walls, the captain stabbed his right foot. Ack! Ichigo has a bloody foot with a sword embedded in it. Byakuya raised his left index and middle finger to Ichigo's right shoulder slowly. Hado number 4, Byakurai. A powerful lightning bolt shot from his fingertips and pierced Ichigo's shoulder, causing severe damage to the latter. Ichigo coughed up small spurts of blood, his eyes widening in pain due to the new wound. His blood had stained the right side of his coat crimson red. He was about to make a move when he realized something else that surpassed his current state. His body refuses to move. What's going on? Why can't I move? The Shinigami wondered, his hands trembling uncontrollably on the handle of his sword. Right now, you're probably thinking that the Senkin increased my speed, but that is not the case here, Ichigo realized. So you're saying I've slowed down? It sounded more like a statement than a question. Yes, but don't be too concerned about your failure, Ichigo Kurosaki. You defeated many high-level Shinigami and achieved Bankai. You certainly exceeded our expectations, but you must be feeling it by now. Your body is dying. You are only a human, and humans have limits. Byakuya released the second sword that held Ichigo in place before swinging his original sword in an overhead swing. This can't be it. My friends and I have come too far for me to lose here. Ichigo thought to himself as Byakuya's blade approached his head. I must win. Byakuya's eyes widened in surprise, and he could only stare at Ichigo, who grabbed his wrist and stopped his attack. He was unable to move because he had reached his limit. So what happened all of a sudden? That's when he became aware of another presence in the area, this time emanating from a human. What is your name? Do you want to know who I am? Ichigo asked, his head lowered and his voice distorted and maniacal. He abruptly raised his head. I have no name. He slashed Byakuya across the torso, splattering blood as the latter slid backwards on his heels. Since landing a hit on the captain, Ichigo has been laughing maniacally. Byakuya was oblivious to the pain or his new wound as he sensed the increased spiritual energy, which was followed by the now stronger yet twisted spiritual pressure from the maniacally human with a homicidal grin on his face. That's when he noticed a white mask with black stripes forming around the left eye, which quickly turned yellow. Oh, Ichigo, what a complete amateur you are. Couldn't you tell? Byakuya's eyes widened slightly as Ichigo continues his dialogue. You were getting crushed by your own Bankai's spiritual pressure. Every bone in your body is creaking from the strain. You really are a hopeless case. The possessed Shinigami criticized as he crushed the sword in his left hand with no effort. Let me now demonstrate how I use Bankai. He swung his sword and sent a black crescent wave with a red outline at the irritated captain. For both combatants, this battle is reaching new heights. Yamamoto versus Naruto metal clashing echoed throughout the vast area of dense green, brown trees. The fast-paced battle between the Jinchuriki and the head captain Shinigami raged on in the skies, with brief flashes of sparks and electricity. Naruto and Yamamoto reappeared in the air in front of each other, exchanging sword slashes. The two experienced warriors appeared to be fighting with maximum effort in their strikes and counters. Others, however, see their arms and sword strikes as nothing more than blurs, with only showers of sparks as evidence of their counters and blocks. When the two men locked swords, they were attempting to push each other back with their strength. This was a battle of concentration, and if one of them lost it even for a second, that person would be sorry. Naruto broke the sword lock and shunshined behind the former with Tenkaichi over his head for a vertical slash after realizing the old man would not be pushed back. He was about to swing his blade downward when Ichigo's chakra skyrocketed and he came to a halt in the direction of Sokyoku Hill. When Yamamoto grabbed his right leg and threw him through the air and towards the ground below, that was his biggest mistake. Oof. grunted Naruto as he smashed through several trees with no sign of slowing down. The shinobi jumped from the human-like indentation he made in the tree and landed on the ground after colliding with a tree that managed to stop him. He coughed a few times because he'd lost his breath, but that wasn't on his mind. Ichigo's power is even stronger than before, that it feels twisted. Wait. So the dark power within him decides to show itself. Maybe I could. Naruto was surprised to find Yamamoto in front of him, his blade already close to his face. "Goodbye, boy," the head captain said as his sword approached the shinobi. His normally squinted eyes widened slightly as his younger opponent vanished so quickly, leaving almost no trace of his existence. The trees in front of him revealed a wide horizontal slash mark before falling backwards from their stumps after a brief moment. A jingling sound came from behind him, and the Shinigami turned around to see the shinobi standing there, his primary weapon levitating next to him in a three-pronged kunai in his left hand. "How did you get behind me? That wasn't your high-speed movement technique, nor was it your natural speed, so why didn't you attack me when you had the chance?" His response was the human pulling out a plastic bag and vomiting into it. "Is it motion sickness?" Naruto groaned, wiped his mouth with his left sleeve, and pointed the three-pronged kunai at Yamamoto. While crashing through the trees, I managed to drop the kunai on the ground, making it appear as if it had fallen out of my pouch. This kunai has a technique formula on its hilt that allows me to use space-time ninjutsu. Space-time? If he's implying what I think he's implying. I used my father's signature technique, the Flying Raijin Jutsu, which allows the user to enter a void and instantly reappear at the destination where the technique formula is like on this kunai. It is not swift movement, if that's what you're thinking, but it is instant teleportation instead. Naruto's face turned green before he vomited inside the bag again. Naruto resumed speaking after wiping his mouth again. "However, because I have yet to master it, the unfortunate side effect is vomiting, which is bad during a battle. To be honest, I was saving this technique for my next match with Yoruichi, but you old man." He chuckled to himself, but his opponent could hear him, "You're no pushover." Yamamoto acknowledged the boy with a nod. "I could say the same thing to you, Naruto Uzumaki," he said tiredly but firmly. "Your swordsmanship skills are as impressive as your strength, reflexes, and speed. If only you had been a Shinigami." "Yeah. But I didn't get away clean, you know," he said, pointing to a cut on his right sleeve and a stream of blood running down to his right hand. "Then again, neither did you," Naruto said, motioning to the cut on Yamamoto's chest, which he dismissed as a scratch. "As for me being a Shinigami, I won't take orders from someone who executes one of his peers just because they gave their powers to a human so he could save his family," Naruto said, referring to Ichigo's first Shinigami transformation. Transferring Shinigami powers is a Class 1 capital offense, as declared by the Central 46. Rukia Kukichi violated the law, and now she must face justice, Yamamoto stated firmly and clearly, not wanting to repeat himself. Naruto frowned before heaving a sigh. "Justice?" He willed Tenkaichi back into its scabbard on his back, shadowing his eyes, "for doing the right thing? You call this justice?" The shinobi raised his head enough for Yamamoto to see a dangerous gleam in the former's blue eyes, and the head captain didn't flinch at all. "I'll show you what true justice is," he said solemnly, pocketing his three-pronged kunai in his pouch. "Show me then," Yamamoto said with the same tone and a dangerous gleam in his eyes. A dangerous silence washed over them as they continued to stare down, not moving an inch, with only the wind and leaves making a sound. Yamamoto quickly extended his left hand towards the ninja. "Byakurai, Hado number 4. Naruto hurled the bag containing his regurgitated liquid at the lightning, which exploded in a small puff of smoke as it approached him. He quickly evaded the attack before sunshining in front of the elder Shinigami with an uppercut that bore his name and connected to his face. Unfortunately, he overlooked the Shinigami's failure to retaliate with his sword or the left open palm. Yamamoto created a crackling rope of yellow energy that wrapped around Naruto's body, binding his arms and body. The surprised shinobi yelped as he nearly lost his balance before regaining his balance and leaping backwards. His face tensed up, as if he was trying to break free. "This is a Kido arts binding spell." The rope began to crack from Naruto's frame, displaying the latter's natural strength. "Allow me to show you another. Bakudo number 61, Seke." Naruto cursed as the same but stronger Kido wrapped around him, just as the previous one had broken off. "Do you believe this will deter me, Yamamoto?" "No. It's meant to stall you," the elder man stated flatly, pointing at the shinobi. Naruto sunshined on the right side of him and delivered a mid-air kick, but the warrior with millennia of combat experience dodged the attack and countered with a sharp right roundhouse kick to the back. "Oh, that hurts a lot." Sweat and heat began to seep through his skin. Why is it suddenly getting hot? Naruto jumped to his feet with agility and reflex, only to find his opponent's blade on fire. Oshish. Reduce all creations to ashes. Ryujin Jaka. The flames on Ryujin Jaka's blade exploded, encircling the oldest Shinigami and quickly burning the trees behind him and towards his opponent. Naruto vitalized his body with as much chakra as he could and shunshined as far away from the raging and intensely hot flames that burned everything in its path as he could. But it was still pursuing him. He was out of options and couldn't perform the substitution jutsu because his hands and arms were bound, and he didn't want to run any further. So that leaves one option, which I hope is strong enough. I really hope this works, muttered the shinobi as he began his technique. Yamamoto watched as his heating flames prepared to consume his opponent, determined to extinguish his existence from this world. What a shame for a warrior like him to die. Now for my two stew. He felt the boy's spiritual power increase dramatically as his spiritual pressure pushes the flames away with a strong force of wind, revealing the shinobi with orange pigmentation around his closed eyes to be unaffected by the intense flames. The shinobi piqued the head captain's interest. You're strong enough to resist being turned to ashes by my Shikai's release. This battle will be worthwhile for me because I haven't enjoyed a battle since. He recalled centuries ago when he battled a mysterious stranger with ripple patterns in his eyes. Yes, this battle will be worthwhile, Naruto said calmly as he opened his eyes, revealing toad-like eyes that had previously replaced his blue eyes and his use of Sage Mode. He then easily broke the rope around his frame. However, I'll take you out in one move. Do you think you can defeat me by using a transformation that saved you from my flames? I'm the oldest and most powerful Shinigami in Soul Society because no one can surpass me. Yamamoto willed his flames on his blade to rage wildly, scorching the ground below and heating the area to intense temperatures. The Toad Sage said nothing and assumed the Frog Kata stance while staring at the head captain with a calculating expression. Yamamoto responds by increasing the heat of his flames to the point where it affects the skies. Here we go. Naruto paused in mid-sentence when he sensed 3 new spiritual pressures back at Sokyoku Hill, and they were close to Rukia, Renji, and Ichigo. Naruto. That Ichigo kid and his Shinigami friends are in trouble. Kurama exclaimed, having also detected the 3 spiritual pressures. Yeah, I'm about to head there now, he murmured to himself, but the Shinigami in front of him could hear him. You're not going anywhere, Ryoka. This battle is far from over. The shinobi vanished, leaving an irritated Yamamoto behind. Kids these days. They have no respect for the elders at all, Yamamoto said, before receiving a message from the 4th Division's lieutenant, Aizen Katetsu. Hill of Sokyoku Ichigo could only look on in disbelief and shock as one of the Gote 13 captains easily defeated another. The Shinigami captain who had struck his former captain was a mild-mannered man with brown scholarly hair that was accentuated by his square glasses and brown eyes. I feel so helpless. This much power disparity between captains, it's unbelievable. Ichigo then mentioned Naruto and Yamamoto's spiritual pressures and how, despite being so far away, he still felt them during his fight. The captain who was killed was much taller and looked nothing like the other captain. His head is a wolf's face, and he wears the Shinigami outfit with the captain's cloak over it. He also wears shoulder weights under his cloak and large, plated boots rather than sandals. His bloodied fur is a light brown color that matches his boots and weights. Now. The Shinigami captain looked down at Rukia, grabbing her collar and lifting her up with his left hand. Since there are no more interruptions, the ritual shall begin. Suddenly, a swarm of wooden pillars rose from the ground, encircling him and Rukia. The captain's right arm was also made of wood. When Rukia saw the changed arm, she began to panic and silently begged Ichigo or her friends to save her. Don't worry, Rukia. This won't hurt. A lot, he said as he thrust his arm into the female Shinigami. Rukia closed her eyes as soon as she saw the captain reach for her. She waited for the pain to pass, but instead she felt a tremendous spiritual pressure that was very close to her. So she opened her eyes to find the Ryoka with the blonde hair standing next to her, an iron grip on the captain's arm. And Naruto. Rukia muttered softly in relief, while the captain hid his surprise in front of the Ryoka in front of him. Naruto delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to the captain's stomach, sending him flying away and forcing him to let go of Rukia. He caught her in bridal attire and reappeared in front of Ichigo and an unconscious Renji, both of whom were severely injured. He positioned Rukia in front of the wounded men and smiled at 3 Shinigami. You guys look terrible. Ichigo's face was marked by an angry vein and a tick mark. So do you. Wait. Why is your face green? Naruto didn't respond as he resisted the urge to puke, so Ichigo decides to disregard it. As for why we look like crap, we were fighting for our lives of some sort. He tried to get up, but that captain. He's unreal. He took me down while I was using my Bankai. Your Bankai? Naruto examined the boy's appearance more closely, noticing the different Shinigami robe and, most notably, the black Dato lying next to the latter. Ichigo. Yeah? Ichigo inquired, only to be met with a devious Naruto glaring at him with a red gleam in his eyes. How come your Bankai sword looks exactly like mine? Eh? Naruto suddenly grabbed the injured Ichigo's collar with both arms and lifted him to his full height before comically shaking him. Huh? Explain to me. Why does it look exactly like Tenkaichi? Are you trying to copy me or something? Huh? Answer me. He was then hit hard in the head, but he felt no pain. Naruto searched for the perpetrator and discovered an angry Rukia with angry veins on her right fist and forehead while cringing in pain with said hand. What? He inquired, as if nothing were wrong. What do you mean, what? Roared Rukia at the dense shinobi. This isn't the time for that. We have 3 traitors who are captains behind you, and all you're concerned about is Ichigo's Bankai sword resembling yours. She huffed and puffed with each breath and twitched her eye. Naruto blinked at the petite Shinigami before sheepishly smiling and rubbing the back of his head with his left hand. Sorry. Sorry? Is that all you have to say? Screamed Ichigo and Rukia at the stunned Naruto as he continued to scold him. When they heard several footsteps approaching, they came to a halt and looked past the shinobi to find the rogue captains and his 2 fellow traitors. My. I have to say, Captain Aizen, I wasn't expecting that blonde Ryoka to get the drop on you. Naruto turned around to see the captain with the glasses get up, a dust footprint on his robe. He also notices 2 traitors on opposite sides of Aizen. The Shinigami on the right has unusual silver hair, his eyes are narrowed to slits, and his face is perpetually mocking. The other has dark skin, dark brown braids in a ponytail, clear joggles over his eyes, and an orange scarf wrapped around his neck. He wears Shinigami garb, including white boots, black fingerless gloves, and the captain's cloak. I didn't notice him until he appeared in front of you, Captain Aizen, the dark-skinned Shinigami said, turning his head to the captain. Do you feel okay? The one known as Aizen laughed, but winced slightly as he touched the spot where the human had kicked him. I, too, was caught off guard by his appearance, but that won't happen again, he said, looking at the 4 opponents, particularly the blonde. I must admit, I was not expecting this intervention. Who are you really? Naruto. As if I'm going to tell you who I really am, but I know about you 3, Sosuke Aizen, Jin Ichimaru, and Kanami Tosen. He noticed Jin's grin widening, Aizen's amused smile, and Tosen's lack of reaction. I'm not sure what you were planning to do to Rukia, but I'm not going to let you get away with it. Naruto drew his flying Raijin kunai and held it in a normal grip with his right hand. Oh, so you're going to fight all 3 of us? Jin joked before drawing his Zappakuto. Naruto smirked at the captain's grin. I can't wait to wipe that grin off your face, he said, channeling wind chakra into the kunai. The blue chakra glowed briefly before forming into a blade, extending the range of his flying Raijin kunai. Because of Sage Mode's ninjutsu enhancing abilities, the chakra became sharper and denser than usual. He looks at the 4-eyed captain's amused expression before turning serious. You'll pay for what you tried to do. Aizen, the sage said firmly as he swung his kunai at the 3 captains, unleashing a wave of wind chakra at them. Sleeping was something Naruto enjoyed more than training or eating ramen. When the human body lies on a bed, there is no resistance to its comforting and overwhelming effect. Especially if you're a superhuman shinobi with a monstrous kitsune sealed inside of you in a vast arsenal of abilities. You're going to make a lot of enemies. Naruto lay on the bed, sleeping soundly, thinking that nothing could ruin it. Boy was he wrong. Naruto, Z's. Naruto. Kurama yelled a little louder and more annoyed. His response was a loud snort. Grr. I repeat, why didn't fate let me be sealed into someone else instead of this barnacle head? Then the fox had a mischievous thought. Oh, this is going to be fun. The fox cleared his throat and inhaled as much air as he could, and then let it all out. Waaaaaaakkkkkkkeeuuuuuppp. Wah! Exclaimed Naruto as he abruptly awoke and fell out of bed, face planting on the floor. Hard. He clutched his head as his ringing ears caused him excruciating pain. Gah! What the hell, Kurama? Naruto exclaimed over the telepathy link after the agonizing ringing subsided a few seconds later. Naruto popped his joints as he stood up from the ground to loosen his muscles. You're running late. Naruto became perplexed and asked the obvious question. Late? Late for what? Late for what? Sai, you're meeting with Shinigami's old fart and his captains. Naruto pondered this information for a long time, still perplexed. After 10 minutes of thinking and his patience running thin, Kurama remembered. 6 days had passed since Aizen and his henchmen had betrayed and declared war on Soul Society. Following that, Yamamoto approached the Uzumaki member with the proposal of forming an alliance with him, Ichigo and his group, and the Gote 13 to fight the traitors. Oh, I see. Now I remember. At long last. Now hurry up before they change their minds about you. Naruto nodded and walked over to a table next to a wall. Tenkaichi, his hip pouch, shuriken holster, and flak jacket were on top of it. He was still dressed in his Konoha dark blue long-sleeve shirt and pants, as well as his Konoha forehead protector. As Naruto reached for his hip pouch, he noticed something on his left wrist, his G-Shock watch, which surprisingly works in a place like Soul Society. He looked at it with a puzzled expression on his face. Kurama? What? Did you forget how to dress like last time? No loud, brash remark came from his Jinchuriki, which concerned the tailed beast in a, what's going on and why won't he or she tell me, sort of way. Naruto. When is the meeting? Why at 9 a.m.? Oh, nothing. I thought it might have occurred to you or you were paying attention to outside because it's freaking 6 in the morning. Naruto exclaimed, his face irritated. Oops, that's all you have to say? Naruto was about to continue rambling when he remembered he was a guest in one of the Gote 13 Division barracks. To be specific, the 4th Division barracks. Crap, I hope I didn't wake anyone up. Especially her, Naruto said quietly as he remembered the captain of the 4th Division, Retsu Unohana. According to Yoruichi, Unohana is a great captain who cares about her colleagues and the division members under her command. Some say she behaves as a mother would towards her children. If anyone did something she didn't agree with or allow, she would use a sickening and deceptive sweet tone that would scare the hell out of whoever she spoke to. Do you remember the first time you met her and you sensed her emotions? How could I not? It was intense. Way too intense for someone like her, Naruto said, shuddering. Now I can't sleep because a certain fox woke me up. You're welcome, Kurama said with a grin. Screw you, Naruto said as his arm and hand reached for the hip pouch. He paused, readied his right hand, and channeled chakra into his palm. A Rasengan burst to life a split second later, causing the Jinchuriki to smile at his accomplishment of creating it himself, as his father had intended. Dad, I've come a long way. And he's come a long way since then. He not only has complete mastery of his wind chakra and knowledge of the other chakra natures, but he can also create a Rasengan and its completed wind-style variant without the use of a shadow clone. His control has improved to the point where he only needs one clone to create Rasengan, a far more powerful and destructive version of the wind style. Naruto opened the scroll and formed a few hand signs after dispelling his signature technique and grabbing the scroll he desired. As a result, a large puff of smoke covered the shinobi and filled the room. Sigh, I might as well get some training done and explore the place while I'm at it. Seirei Assembly Hall 1st Division. There were numerous lamps inside the ancient hall that provided illumination. The majority of it was behind the head captain, who was standing with the remaining captains who had not been seriously injured during Aizen's plot. They formed straight lines, and some of them are displeased. He's late, Soifon snarled, tapping her foot and folding her arms impatiently. Ukitake nodded and sighed. Maybe he was held back by something. Like what? Jashiro asks. The Shinigami captain, with white hair, looked at his longtime and best friend. I'm not sure, Shunsui, something. Oh my goodness, I can't stop. Else. After hearing a loud wham crash against the two large doors, all of the captain's gazes were drawn to them. Yamamoto ordered the doors to open, and the blonde Ryoka for whom they were waiting fell to the ground a split second later. They noticed he was dressed differently than before, but armed with his hip pouch and shuriken holster. Not to mention the sword and a little girl with pink hair on his back. Wait, is that a girl? Yachiru. The captain who summoned her was a tall and muscular man with a vertical scar across his eye and an eye patch covering his right eye. His most distinctive feature is his long spiked hair with bells on it. His short-sleeved cloak is tattered, rather than a neat captain's cloak like the others. Hi, Kenny. Yachiru said, getting off the blonde's back and going to his head. Fishy. Are you okay? Inquired the little girl who was poking Ryoka's unconscious cheeks. The girl was wearing the Shinigami uniform with a lieutenant's badge strapped to her left sleeve and had a perpetual blush on her cheeks. Her persistent prodding finally roused her new friend. Wait, where am I? See, we finally made it to the 1st Division barracks. Naruto felt his head lifted and his eyes widen when he noticed Yamamoto and his captains staring at him. He stood up quickly and straightened his orange jacket, black jeans, and blue sneakers from the previous world. "I told you I'd get you here," Yachiru said cheerfully. Naruto laughed as he stroked Yachiru's hair. "You did, and after this, we'll play tag, how about that?" Yachiru exclaimed. "Yay. Tag. See you later, fishy," Naruto said as he watched the little lieutenant leave the barracks, leaving a trail in her wake. "While she's adorable and sweet, her sense of direction is terrible," the shinobi said as he looked at his watch and paled. "It's 3 hours past the scheduled time. Crap," Naruto reflected as he turned to face the Gote 13 captains and began walking inside the assembly hall. He came to a halt at the opposite end of the even lines from Yamamoto. As soon as the doors closed, the Shinigami fell silent as they stared at the human. Naruto chuckled nervously and rubbed his chin. "I apologize for being late. I was training earlier this morning to kill time before the meeting." "So, what took you so long to get here?" Ukitake inquired, clearly concerned. "I got lost on the road of life," Naruto said simply, a Kakashi-eye smile on his face. Everyone sweated at the comment, except Yamamoto, who actually laughed at the pun. Meanwhile, Kurama referred to him as an idiot. "Stop talking. I told you to feel for their energy, but you preferred to follow that Yachiru girl." Naruto resisted the urge to interrupt Yamamoto's speech. "Now that our guest has arrived, we shall begin," exclaimed the old Shinigami as he lightly stomped his cane on the floor, signaling the start of the meeting. "Would anyone like to take the lead?" "I would." Head Captain, Ryoka said first, surprising everyone except Yamamoto. "How are the injured captains and Shinigami doing?" Naruto inquired, cracking his fingers. "He can be empathetic just because he comes from another world. This boy." Yamamoto mused before a faint smile appeared on his wrinkled face. "If you would, Captain Unohana." Unohana is a Shinigami woman of unrivaled beauty, with a graceful smile and long black hair tied in a long ponytail that hangs in front of her rather than behind her. Captains Hitsugaya, Kukichi, and Komamura are recovering well, but they will be on bed rest for a few more days. Lieutenant Hinamori's injuries were critical and necessitated surgery. She is now in the ICU and under close observation, but she will survive. "Does anyone have a question for me?" Naruto asked, nodding. "I do," a raspy voice said. When the Jinchuriki heard that voice, he turned to his right and saw a Shinigami with purple, white, and black makeup and purple hair in a strange and obscene hairstyle that could blind hairstylers. Naruto muttered, "Crap. Hello. Your name is Captain Mayuri Kuratsuchi of the 12th Division and the director of the Shinigami Research and Development Institute. I've heard a lot about you." When a madly grin threatened to split the man's face, Naruto felt jitters crawl up his spine. "Oh really? Like what?" the skeleton-faced Shinigami inquired. "You're a mad scientist. Thank you very much." "That wasn't a compliment," Naruto deadpanned, "and they said they couldn't tell if you were a clown or a skeleton." "What? WHO said that. I want to know WHO they are." "I'm sorry," Naruto said, picking his ear with his pinky and flicking whatever it was somewhere else, "but I promised not to sell them out under any circumstances." "How come you, enough, Captain Kurasuchi," Yamamoto said firmly, silencing the muttering scientist. "Does anyone else have a question for Uzumaki here?" he asked. "Very well then, we all know why we're here. To discuss the proposal of an alliance between the Gote 13, Naruto Uzumaki, and Ichigo Kurosaki and his group, with the sole purpose of fighting Sosuke Aizen and his colleagues, Kanami Tosen, and Jin Ichimaru." Naruto growled as he reflected on the events of 4 days ago. Flashback starts. Hill of Sokyoku. The Senjutsu enhanced wind chakra wave cut through the air, quickly approaching Aizen, Tosen, and Jin. "Let's see what they've got," the shinobi reasoned. The captains jumped over the wave with no effort. They returned their gaze to see the attack dissipate as it flew out of the Sokyoku Hill area. "Well, that was surprisingly fast, right Captain Aizen?" Jin joked as he and his fellow traders returned their gaze to Naruto. "That Ryoka must be a fool to think if he and Tosen jumped to the air just as 2 pairs of hands struck out of the ground that missed their feet." However, the gleeful Shinigami's left foot was grabbed by a lone hand from the ground. Headhunter Jutsu, Earth style. After gaining some distance from their opponent, the 2 captains landed back on the ground. Tosen became aware of Jin's absence at this point. "Where is Jin?" Tosen inquired as he drew his blade in preparation for a fight. While Aizen was looking ahead, he sensed Jin's head leveled to the ground beneath him and the Ryoka standing over him, which surprised the blind Shinigami, though he quickly regained his composure. "He can make clones of himself, but are they speed clones?" Tosin inquired as two more Narutos emerged from the ground from where they had previously stood. Not quite, but it will be interesting to learn how he created them. Aizen looked to Jin's head. How long do you intend to stay there? The smiling captain easily escaped his temporary prison and reappeared next to the devious captain with flash step. They look at Naruto, who is accompanied by 3 clones who have leapt to his position. Both sides were staring down at each other when Naruto made a gesture and his kunai-armed clones, as well as Aizen and his conspirators, vanished in a burst of pure speed. They clashed their blades against the captain's blades, causing 2 shockwaves before all of them vanished except for Aizen, who used his arm to easily direct the clones' attack away from him. It wasn't long before Naruto's 3 clones' memories surfaced and the 3 captains reappeared on the ground. Both sides are staring each other down with no sign of relenting. Ichigo and Rukia can sense the battle's tension as well as the incredible spiritual pressure exerted by the combatants. The sound of running footsteps behind them drew their attention. They found who they thought were Shinigami based on their attire, but Ichigo recognized them right away. Orihime, Chad, Uryu. The original Naruto noticed the 3 people Ichigo had told him about running towards them. The veteran shinobi finds their appearances fascinating. Orihime is a young adolescent of average height. She has long waist-length burnt orange hair held in bangs tucked behind her ears with hairpins, and she has a slender yet curvaceous figure with a large breast. She's cute and has a nice figure for a young girl. I wouldn't be surprised if Ichigo asks her out. His gaze was drawn to the man behind her. Damn! What has he been eating? He exclaimed, standing tall for a high school student. His eyes are hidden behind wavy brown hair bangs, and he, like Yoruichi, has dark skin and prominent cheekbones. Sato Yatsudaro is his name, but Ichigo and the others call him Chad. His toad eyes then focused on the person wearing glasses. He was about the same height as Orihime and had purple hair with 2 bangs framing his face. And that guy with the glasses must be Uryu. Ichigo told me he's a Quincy. No idea what that is, but I have a feeling he's a smartass. Naruto then noticed that the teenagers were breathing heavily as they stumbled the last few yards towards them. That's when he realized his spiritual pressure was the source of their respiratory problem. Uryu traced the intense spiritual pressure back to the blonde whisker-marked teenager after adjusting his glasses. Who's he, Ichigo? Asked the Quincy. Orihime and Chad both looked at Naruto, who returned his gaze to the defected captains, who for some reason did not attack him while he was looking at them. Aizen was probably observing the newly arrived Ryoka, or he simply didn't want to. Ichigo returned his gaze to his friends after a brief glance at Naruto. He helped me save Rukia, but he'll tell you about himself after the battle, right? The ninja didn't look back, but he gave a small nod, letting his fellow human know he heard him before forming a familiar cross sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto said quietly to himself as he began his signature technique.
When 8 identical Narutos appeared behind the original, Orihime, Chad, and Uryu freaked out. The young orange-haired girl, in fact, clung to Rukia like a scared kitten on a tree.
Boys. Uzumaki Whirlpool Formation. The newly created clones obeyed their creator's command, forming a defensive circle around Ichigo, Rukia, Chad, Uryu, Renji, and Orihime before half of them slammed both their hands on the ground and the other half drew ordinary kunais. Aizen watched Naruto with amusement as a blue translucent barrier formed around the clones and the Ryoka group, except for the original, who was standing outside of it. He recognizes Kido. What else does he have up his sleeve? It's not Kido, idiot, the blonde ninja smirked when the calm captain became agitated, which surprised Tosin and Jin. According to what Yoruichi said, Aizen was not the one who lost his cool. Stay inside, everyone, Naruto told Ichigo and the others, not looking back. The devious captain reflected on the Ryoka's current strength and dismissed it as nothing more than a nuisance, but he pondered few thoughts. How did he get the upper hand on him, and where did he get this level of power? And, despite being a human, he appears to be stronger than the substitute Shinigami. These questions will nag his inquisitive mind until his mission is completed and the Gote 13 and Soul Society are defeated. When Naruto noticed Aizen reaching for his Zanpakuto, he prepared his Hiraishin kunai. However, 2 blurs appeared on both sides of Aizen, preventing him from drawing his sword. When it turned out to be Yoruichi and her former protege, Soifon, Naruto relaxed a little. Yoruichi, Ichigo yelled before cringing in pain. Naruto then noticed a female Shinigami with long wavy blonde hair and a curvaceous figure appear behind Jin with her sword drawn and pointing at his back with a serious expression on her face. Damn. First Seiko, then Orihime, and now her. I love this journey. Naruto exclaimed, his face a little goofy. Kurama muttered to himself, "Oh brother." While stopping the chakra flow on his Hiroshin kunai, Naruto ignored him. When a male Shinigami with a punk-like appearance, black hair, and a 69 tattoo on the left side of his face appeared behind Tosen, holding his blade in a reverse grip and close to the latter's throat, the latter was stunned. Almost all of the Gote 13 captains, including Yamamoto, and lieutenants quickly appeared on the hill, encircling the three traitors. "Don't even move," Aizen, Yoruichi warned, noting Naruto's significantly increased spiritual power and the strange toad-like eyes that had replaced his blue eyes. She then noticed a smirk on the traitor's face and knew he was up to something. "What's so funny?" The captain's amused smile remained until Yoruichi noticed it. "Soifon, return now." Just as a yellow large barrier encased Aizen, the two captain-class Shinigami leapt backwards. Rengoku and the other Shinigami leapt backwards, while Jin and Tosen were encased by the same barrier. When the Shinigami and Ryoka looked up, they saw a black hole that seemed to rip the sky apart, releasing tall, black creatures with white masks, elongated noses, and red eyes that could pierce a person's soul. Those are Manos Grande, the Jillian class," Omeda exclaimed, freaking out and sweating in fear, while everyone else except Yamamoto remained stunned and perplexed. Then Naruto noticed a blinding glow coming from behind him and turned to find Rukia glowing. "Rukia? What's going on?" Ichigo exclaimed, concerned, as Oyerheim, Chad, and Uryu looked on. Yoruichi returned his gaze to Aizen, who was levitating towards the hollows with Tosen and Jin. "What did you do?" Yoruichi asked Aizen, who was looking at Rukia with curiosity. "I've done nothing. It appears it is awakening on its own will, and surprisingly quickly." He and his fellow defectors, as well as the captains and lieutenants, watched the petite Shinigami glowing in the white bright light, which seemed to go on forever. When a small object floated out of Rukia's chest and towards Naruto, who absently held out his right palm to hold the object, everyone's eyes widened except Yamamoto's. Ichigo broke the awkward silence between them. "What is that thing?" asked the voice from above. "That is the Hogyoku," Naruto said, narrowing his eyes at the ascending captain. "You see, my plan was to possess the Hogyoku after Rukia Kukichi's death because Kazuki Urahara had hidden it inside of her." Both Naruto and Ichigo growled in their throats as Aizen talked about Rukia as if she were a tool to be used and discarded. "However, even I did not expect the Hogyoku to wake up this early, and you, Ryoka," Aizen said as he and his followers approached the Garganta. Kurama lurched in his cave after a powerful yet vaguely familiar force pushed him with great force. He last felt like this when, "Naruto, that Hogyoku is the—" "I know. I felt it too," the boy replied via the link. "It was nearly overwhelming, but—" "But what?" He got no response. Instead of waiting for an answer, Kurama decided to read Jinchuriki's thoughts and was surprised by what he found. So the fox made the decision to wait and let his partner do what he does best, be unpredictable. "Take off the mask," Naruto said, looking at Aizen, who seemed amused by his request. "There's no need for you to keep up the act now that we've discovered your betrayal." Ichigo and the others were perplexed by what he meant and turned to look at the captain. He wasn't wearing a mask, which was agreed upon by the Shinigami, except for two of them. While staring at the blonde human, Aizen chuckled and reached for his glasses. "Very perceptive, for a human. Oh well, I see no reason to keep this disguise any longer than necessary." He removed his glasses, revealing very menacing features that were replaced by a single lock of his hair on his forehead. He appeared very intimidating and evil to Ichigo and his friends in the absence of Naruto. "What has caused you to stoop so low, Aizen?" Ukitake asked, disappointed and enraged, as Aizen and his subordinates reached the apex of the black hole teeming with hollows. So the traitorous Aizen explained his plan to become a god using the power of the Hogyoku, overthrow the Soul Society, and disrupt the balance that connected the world of the living. Now that his plan has been slightly delayed, he has left Soul Society, but not before declaring that he will have the Hogyoku that Naruto now possesses. "Well, guess I have a new enemy to deal with," Naruto muttered as the black hole in the sky closed and some of Gote 13 captains destroyed some of the hollows left behind. Flashback ends. Based on how the captain explained his plan that day, both Naruto and Kurama agreed that Aizen and his colleagues had planned this for a very long time, given that Shinigami can live for centuries. Not to mention that they do not age at the same rate as humans. When he heard his name called, his thoughts were cut short. "Uzumaki. Uzumaki." Naruto blinked several times before responding. "Yes? Sorry, Yamamoto, I didn't hear you. I said I had a question for you." "Shoot." With that, Yamamoto asked him the question he had been meaning to ask him since his battle with the human. Are you the disciple of the Sage of the Six Paths? Naruto's stunned expression was all Yamamoto needed. I'll take your nod as a yes. Do you know my master? Naruto was all he could say. The head captain agreed with a nod. How come? Wait, when? Yamamoto raised his hand to end the interrogation. That will be discussed privately between you and I at a later time, but as you stand before me, I now realize that your master's worst fear has come true. The captains, including Shunsui and Jishiro, waited for what could be the greatest threat to the Gotei 13 in history. The Shinju has been resurrected. I believe I speak for everyone here, head captain. Who or what is the Shinju? Soifon asked firmly. Who is the Shinju? I've never heard of him. You idiot, the Shinju is the true name of the 10 tails, just as Kurama is my name and Gyuki is the name of the 8 tail. Oh. Naruto paused before responding to Soifon. To answer your question, the Shinju, also known as the 10 tails in my world, is a demon. Now everyone's attention was on him. But before I go on, there will be no record of what I'm about to say, and there will be no attempts to cross over to my world. I'm only disclosing this information because we share an enemy. Yamamoto gave the boy a firm nod. I agree, Uzumaki. In honor of your master, and you having assisted Ichigo Kurosaki in rescuing Rukia Kukichi from Aizen's clutches, we will respect your request. Won't we? He said, looking at Kuratsuchi, who grumbled about the old man being a killjoy. Thank you, head captain. Naruto expressed gratitude. It felt strange to address someone by their formal title. He didn't do it as a child or during his 2.5 years of training with Jiraiya. I guess some people change some of their habits when they meet and train with their ancestor. Later that night, Yanman, that was exhausting, Naruto said, stretching his arms. The Konoha shinobi was walking around Soul Society as the darkness descended. As he walked, Naruto reflected on the topics discussed at the meeting. The first was that, because Central 46 is temporarily out of commission, Yamamoto is now in charge of both Soul Society and Central 46 and reports to the Spirit King. The second topic was Ichigo becoming an official substitute Shinigami due to his performance during the invasion. The third was his account of his training with the Sage, as well as his relationship with him in the Sealing Keys and Shinju mission. The final point was about the Hogyoku. Yamamoto agreed that Naruto would keep the Hogyoku because it was his to begin with. Oh yeah, he said as he jumped to the roof of a nearby building. Naruto outlined it, revealing a highly complex sealing formula courtesy of his clan. Kai, said the shinobi as a puff of smoke cleared in front of him, revealing the small gem-like object. According to Yamamoto, he was the first guardian of the key until he gave it in the title to an exiled Shinigami. Kazuki Urahara, who was apparently the captain of the 12th Division before Clown Face and created the R&D and became its first head scientist. If he was the guardian of the key, why did he hide it inside that Rukia girl? Kurama asked. Based on that action alone, it appears that he is not that bright if Aizen figured it out. Perhaps. But we'll have our answers tomorrow, Naruto replied, giving the tailed beast a thumbs up before cutting the link. He looked up to the black sky after sealing the Hogyoku back into the scroll, and a smile appeared in response. It's a beautiful night with calm winds and a full moon. A wonderful opportunity to meditate. After a brief moment of staring at the moon, all that remained of the boy's presence was a tangle of leaves. In the meantime, Las Noches Hueco Mundo, a single crescent moon, shines its light through the vast darkness shroud that covers the sky and the sand below. Mountains of sand layers stretched out for miles, forming a desert. The hollows live here. Beings who were once human souls, or pluses, but were unable to progress to the Soul Society. A large white tower stands in the midst of said beast's homeland. Inside the tower, on the top floor, Aizen is still dressed in his Shinigami captain uniform and sits on a white throne like a king. Jin and Tosen, his fellow conspirators on his right and left sides, still wear their Shinigami uniforms, as does their leader. Tosen broke the silence with, "This is problematic, Captain Aizen." Aizen didn't even bother to look at him. How so? You do not have Kazuki Urahara's Hogyoku. That surprisingly strong Ryoka boy does. How do you expect to proceed with your plan, sir? It is true that this delays our plan. But only slightly. I have a backup plan in mind, and our guest should arrive in a few moments, Aizen said calmly. Oh, do you mean? Jin's thoughts were interrupted by a ring of dark light in the ceiling that drew both his and Tosen's attention. As a figure appeared and descended from the ceiling, Aizen simply closed his with a smug smile. The figure resembles a young man with black hair, red eyes, and pointy ears, dressed entirely in dark colors. The 5 pairs of black wings on his back, however, are his most distinguishing and intriguing feature. Aizen opened his eyes and spoke 2 words calmly as the man stopped descending and hovered in front of the trio. "Good day, Kokabeel." As 5 more rings appeared on the ceiling and 5 more people like him emerged, the man known as Kokabeel grinned madly. The following day, Sokyoku Hill, "Man, where has he gone?" "Calm down, Ichigo. Complaining won't make Naruto appear out of nowhere." "Uryu is correct. The only thing to do now is try to relax," a deep male voice said. The humans looked down to find the source of the voice to be a black cat with familiar yellow eyes. "You should pay attention to Yoruichi, Ichigo." Ichigo groaned as he began to pace around in place while Orihime, dressed in a short-sleeved pink shirt with matching pants, and Chad, dressed in a short-sleeved dark shirt and brown pants, were conversing to pass the time. Yoruichi came by while Ichigo was healing from his wounds inflicted by both Byakuya and Aizen and informed him that Naruto would be returning with them and staying with her and Kazuki. This should be entertaining. After 10 minutes, Naruto, Rukia, and some of the Gote 13 captains arrived via body flicker technique. Ukitake, Komamura, Kyokaru, Soifon, and Unohana. "Hey guys," said Jinchuriki, his Uzumaki clan crest dangling from Tenkaichi's hilt. "I'm sorry for taking so long. I just got lost on the road of life." The boys' comment made Ichigo, Uryu, and Yoruichi sweat, while Orihime thought it was funny and Chad simply nodded. "Where is Yoruichi?" Naruto inquired after noticing the woman's absence. "I'm right here, Naruto," Yoruichi said, pointing to herself. Naruto blinked a few times before panicking. "A freaking cat just talked to me." "That's what I said." Ichigo laughed at the blonde's reaction. He then noticed Rukia's division captain approaching him. "I am Captain Ukitake." "Greetings, Ichigo. I have something that will be of great assistance to you." Ukitake lifted his hand and opened his palm, revealing the object that is supposed to help him. Ichigo blinked a few times. It was an inverted pentagon-shaped pendant with a X mark in the center and a small skull dangling from the base. "What is it?" Ichigo inquired as he examined the object in the captain's hand. Naruto listened in between the two after calming down. "That is a substitute Shinigami badge. You will be an official substitute Shinigami for Soul Society, and it will alert you of nearby hollows and separate you from your body into your Shinigami form." Ukitake explained more about potential substitute Shinigami before his face took a solemn look. "But there are no words or gifts that can adequately compensate for what you've done here," he said to the whiskered human. "Each of you." "It's okay. I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I wanted to, but I'll gladly accept this. It's an honor," Ichigo said sincerely as he pocketed the badge inside his robe. "Same here. Whenever someone is in trouble, whether they're friends or my friend's friend, I'll always be there to help them," Naruto said, making Ichigo smile. "These two. They're cut from the same cloth. They're truly exceptional," Ukitake reflected, a small smile on his face. The group entered the gate that would take them to the world of the living after saying goodbye to Rukia, who chose to stay where she belongs. Feelings of nostalgia ran through Ichigo, Chad, Uryu, and Orihime, but the next chapter of Naruto's mission, adventure begins here. To be continued.
That's it for this part, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for your help and support, and have a great day.